Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Your book's finished. Your name is on the cover and nobody's looking. That's the part nobody warns you about, and that's the part that has almost nothing to do with how good the work is. So today we're asking the question every author, every creator, and every person with something worth saying eventually has to face. How do you get seen? My guest today is Mickey Mikkelson, founder of Creative Edge Publicity and Publicist of the Year 2024 with USA Global TV. Mickey, welcome to Authentic Achievements.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor, and I look forward to this. I'm
so looking forward to it because we've all been in that spot, haven't we? We've created something, we've done what we thought was the hard work. We've kind of got it out of our head and we've got it down on paper or we've got it down on film, whatever it is that we've created. And then what happens? So I know you know all about this. You share with us kind of like why that happens and what people can do about it.
Well, it's all about vision and it's all about mindset. And it's all about having a plan in place about what a writer, a creative, anything within the creative industry can do going forward. Because one of the hardest part is actually getting the product built. Everything else after that is easy if you're willing to have a vision to do that.
Okay. I mean, that sounds great. but how do people take those steps? Because I've written a couple of books that are published. And lots of my guests, lots of my audience have also written books or have done podcasts, got TV shows, whatever that is. And they've tried lots of ways of doing it, but they're not really sure how to get started to build the plan. So I know we need to have a plan and then work the plan. But how do they get started in creating that plan, knowing what things to consider?
The reality is this, and I hope I answer your question. If I don't, I'll clarify for you. The reality is this. Creatives, and I'm not just talking authors, although that is what I do for the most part, but creatives need to be able to invest in themselves. They need to be able to take risks, and there's a time risk. In some cases, there's a monetary risk. And in a lot of cases, there's a mindset risk because most people are unsure what to do and how to do it. So developing a plan is easy as long as you have a team behind you within that journey. Lots of writers hire me, contract me, traditionally indie, because they're not getting what they need in other areas. And a good way to identify that is to call people, talk to people. In terms of brand awareness, marketing, exposure, all of those things. The first step is taking the risk. After that, it gets easier. My opinion.
Yeah. And I guess that is the thing, isn't it? It's like, knowing where to get started and knowing who to place your trust in. Because very often people aren't quite sure where to go. And there's lots of people that are on social media saying, come here and we can get your book wherever it needs to be, or we can get you so many subscribers, or whatever it is that is their promise, that it can be a little bit overwhelming for people to know, how do I identify who are the right team to have around me? What is the right investment in my brand, to be able to get my work, whatever that work is, as you say, to be seen and be heard and start those conversations.
Well, it's mindset, and I'm glad you brought this up because I think it segues into different points.
Mm-hmm.
The mindset with most writers before they meet with me and have conversations and we agree to work together, the mindset is, I need to find ways to get this book into the world. I need to find ways to get this book into the right hands across all levels. And I push back on that. I'm like, that's not what most individuals should be doing. That's what most publicists and most creatives do is they focus on the product. I'm at the different point where you have to focus on the individual and the branding of that person, because not every writer is going to write in the same genre in a lot of cases. Not every writer is going to focus their energies only on one project. Not every writer is just a writer. Some of them are actors, some of them are musicians, some of them are painters, some of them are doing different things. And so I tend to focus on the branding of the individual and cater everything that we're doing around that. That gives us diversification, and it allows us to actively promote backlist as much as we're promoting new release lists. Because again, it doesn't matter because we're focusing on the trademark and the scope of that individual and not the product.
I love that, because you're right. Lots of people create in more than one genre or have more than one lot of experience, don't they? I mean, even for myself, I've written children's books and I've written leadership books, and that doesn't always sound like that's a very
Right.
sensible suggestion. But I've been a leader for 35 years and I've been a mum for 10, so there is lived experience that
Right.
allows you to do
And
those
in
things.
your case, Kim, because you brought it up, if I was your publicist and I focused only on your children's books, and that's what we're focusing our energies on promotion on,
Yeah,
how do the nonfiction entities out there in the world know who you are?
yeah,
It's harder to now segue back to that and try to repitch you for those nonfiction sites. Whereas if we focus on you, it's a lot easier.
yeah.
And that's what we do.
That makes total sense, because I think often sorry, I I have a thought. I would love to know your thoughts on it. That from lots of the creatives that I talk to, is often they are concerned that if they make it about them, the work gets lost, and yet they've kind of got to put themselves out there, haven't they? They've got to lead with them, because that's what people buy into. Is to, why are you credible enough for me to want into your product, to me to invest my time, energy, money in purchasing it? Would that be correct?
I'm going to answer that with some examples if I can.
Perfect.
Every major outlet, branding piece, author, creative who are successful always make it about themselves. Stephen King didn't just focus on Cujo when Cujo came out. The Beatles are a brand themselves.
Yeah.
They had all of these songs. They had Sgt. Pepper, they had Revolver. They put out an album without the word Beatle on the album cover, but it had it on the spine, Revolver being that. And again, the Beatles are the brand. Every major outlet, every major known entity makes it about themselves. And that's how they're successful. So when a reader goes to look for a Stephen King book in the bookstore, the minute they see the Stephen King name on the front, they're buying it. It doesn't matter what it is, how well written, or what. It's Stephen King. That's the brand, and they're buying it. Just saying.
Yeah, no, and thank you for the examples. That really brings it to life, because I think there is that. Certainly some of the conversations I've had, there is that kind of like nervousness about making it too much about the person. And you're right. There's got to be enough credibility as to why would you buy it. It's like, if you know about Stephen King, you know what work he does, as you say, you see, you see that on the book, you're going to buy it. I've got a few favorite authors, and it doesn't really matter whether or not when I've read the book it was one of their best. I'm still going to buy it because
Exactly.
author. So you're like, oh, that's going to be worthy of my time, even if you're a little bit disappointed afterwards. That maybe
It's funny, and I sorry to interject, but it's funny. I had a conversation with a client last night about this very thing. And they're like, I don't think I should book myself in this podcast because I want to give people other opportunities. I said, now is the time for you to think differently and be selfish, because we're trying to build your name out. And the only way to build your name out is to get you out into the world, regardless of opportunities. So it's okay to be selfish. As a writer, as a creative, it's okay to be selfish with your brand and your awareness. No one's going to look down on that. In fact, it's expected. So just saying, again, just saying, but yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's really useful advice, because I think it's almost part of the process people don't think about, or maybe that was just me. I didn't think about it. So I just don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe everybody's listening.
It's definitely not you. The 90% of the world thinks this way, Kim. Actually,
but it was like, actually the work was planning the book, making sure that it was
right,
informative and interesting, doing the interviews, pulling all of those bits together, and then I hadn't really thought about what next. It was kind of like, it was, well, I'll do that bit, and then I'll have a plan. And so
no.
Yeah, it didn't work well.
sorry, Kim. I'm so sorry.
But it was, I guess at the time I was more into getting the passion for what I wanted to share, getting that out, getting that in something that was credible and readable and usable for people. That I then kind of had it and was like, oh, right, now I need a plan of what I do with this. So I kind of went backwards. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited to have you on the show, is to help other people not make that mistake. Help other people know now, even if you're writing it, you don't have to wait for the book, do you, to be able to start talking about it and letting people know about what's coming and why you're credible. So actually, it isn't step 2. It should be at least simultaneous. Would that be fair?
That is fair. And you know what baffles me? And I'll speak to it from a book standpoint, if I can. You know what baffles me? Writers spend all this time, in some case years, writing this book. They're going through multiple edits. They're paying formatters. They're paying editors. They're paying, hopefully in some cases, in all cases, they're paying book cover designers. They're setting up websites. If they're in indie, they're setting up LLCs to get their book out. And then they hire a publicist like me, and they question what the reach is on the first show that they're able to do. And I'm like, why? Why does it matter? You spent all this time and all this money and everything else trying to elevate and get this product out, and now you're questioning whether you should go on a show or not, when all you should be really doing is try to build up your brand. And if the show only has 5 views, great. Share it out to your outlets, share it out to your friends, share it out to your things, so that you distinguish yourself away from everybody else who only got 5 views. It's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. It is funny, isn't it? The way that we question certain things and we don't question other things. And you've talked around the edges of kind of mindset. But I wonder if that's part of the challenge, that's part of the mindset piece, which is that fear of, I put myself out there and there was only 5 views. Because we've suddenly got into that space, and then we start over-validating on numbers, don't we? Instead of, to your point, spread it. That's just the first 5. If you then put it out to more places, other people will see it. And we never really know who's going to find it. People, when I bump into them at events, they'll tell me about something that I wrote 3 years ago.
Yeah, it happens.
I knew I'd done that. I had no idea. Or I had somebody take me out for lunch the other week because they said, "Oh, I owe you." And I was like, "What? I don't understand." And they went, "You've helped me so many times." And then we spoke to 3 years. Just so many times. But it was because they'd gone back to something that I'd
Mhm.
missed. It's facing that fear, isn't it, of putting yourself out there and maybe nobody being interested, but you won't know that unless you put yourself out there and keep facing the fear. Would that be fair?
Absolutely. And you need to continue putting yourself out there every single time. There's no harm in going back on a show a second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth time to reemphasize the message and maybe bring some new criteria at the same time, because it takes more than one interview for people to actually connect overall for that. A spot on Good Morning America is an example of that. Just because you're on major daytime running TV, it doesn't mean that just because they have a wide reach, your message is actually going to be heard the first time. It actually doesn't get connected until the third, fourth, fifth time on one outlet. And so that's one point. The other point is search engine optimization is a thing. And the more times you do stuff, the more times it shows up in your Google search. And the more busy you are, well, the more affluent and more targeted you're going to look to other marketers when they're looking for guests. So, yeah.
Makes total sense. And it is that continuous facing that fear and getting your message out. And also it has to be, to your point, third or fourth time before it resonates. And I often think as well, the person it resonates with has to be in the right point to receive it. So they can have
100%.
watched the same thing 100 times. I read some of my favorite books over and over again, and every time I find something I didn't know before. And yet I think I'm a very diligent reader. I read it cover to cover. But something lands differently every time I reread an old favorite. Particularly in the non-fiction world. I'm like, why did I miss that last time? Why didn't I know that before? So it is in that continuous being out there, being seen, sharing that story, isn't it? Sharing the message. And I guess having a publicist, it's about helping you make that story compelling. Would that be fair?
In some cases, for me, and I mean, maybe that's with I can't speak to other publicists, obviously, Kim, because I don't know where their heads are at and their mindsets. For me, it's all about connection, and it's all about building a community. I mean, we have a relationship with your firm, your USA Global TV. We have a relationship with you. We built that through time, and we built that through networking. We're at the point where, at least in your station, in your show, your network's case, we're not having to pitch because they've seen our guests multiple times to know what we bring to the table. That's the strength of networking, and that's the strength of community. And that's what we are trying to build. Now, do I still have to pitch for some outlets? Absolutely. I pitch all the time. But once I've pitched once or twice, our roster is so strong and our networking capability is so strong that it's a lot easier to either do the pitch, or we're at the point where we can just simply send clients and the interview's booked. That's the strength that we're doing.
Amazing. And that is the thing that we're all craving more of, isn't it? Connection, connectivity, community. As we move into this ever advancing, digitally advanced world that we're living in, actually the thing that we seem to have lost is that connection, that community, that real connection. And I think that's why we are striving more towards it. And I'm conscious we're about to come up to a commercial break, but the question I'd like us to come back to once the break is over is, how do you start to build that community? So for the people listening and watching, what's their first step? So we think on that while we go to commercial break, and then I'm really interested to hear your response when we come back.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Welcome back. And before we went to our commercial break, we were chatting with Mickey Mikkelson about how you get visibility. How do we turn great stories into lasting visibility? So Mickey, please come back and join us. And we ended, didn't we, just talking about the importance of community and connection. And the question I asked you to ponder on was, what is people's first step when they're thinking about how do they start creating a connection? For those listening and watching, what would you recommend they need to start to think about?
The only thing I can say to this is explain how we built our community and our mindset. I came from the corporate world. I actually worked in the credit union system for about 12 years in Alberta, Canada. And what I saw within that community is credit unions being separate, but sharing ideas, CEOs coming together, sharing ideas around branding, around interest rates, around mindset, around building communities within their rural and urban areas. And when I started my company, I wanted to do the same thing with our client base and our media affiliates and everything like that. The way we did that was anytime we would book someone for an interview on a media affiliate or an interview, no matter what the genre is, no matter who the individual, and I know it's a long answer, but I want to make the point. No matter who the individual is, no matter what they write in, no matter what their skill set is, that interview should have certain parameters in terms of quality, personability, and just overall interest. And we've done that. Anytime one of Creative Edge's authors go on a show, you could be assured that they're going to put on the best branding level possible, and they're going to share it out in most cases. We've worked really hard around all of those things. And that's one aspect of building a community. The second aspect is a sense of belonging within the organization. And that's our authors believing in each other, supporting each other, and in a lot of cases, developing ideas together. We have quarterly Zoom calls with our teams to get aligned on different things. That's one aspect that we're doing. So these are all things on how you build a network community.
I love that. I love the whole thought of like idea sharing, because I go to a few of those to do just that. Because I think when you have got a creative brain, actually you get stimulated by other creative thinkers. You go, oh, and you kind of pick up and run with it and end up somewhere you never would have ended up if you'd have just done it on your own. And I love that actually what you're doing is creating a community to help build other communities. So you're kind of living the promise that you're asking them to do, isn't it? It's like, we've created a community to help you create your community, and so that everybody feels that ecosystem and that belonging, because belonging is so important, isn't it?
My clients hate when I say this, but I use this example all the time, and they hate it when I do this, but I'm going to reemphasize it here on a public forum. No, I haven't. What one individual does within Creative Edge directly affects approximately 100 other different creatives. So if they no show, if they come late to an interview, if they have a bad interview, or if they get bombastic about it and they get arrogant about it, everything they're doing under the spotlight, and they actually in some cases behind the scenes, directly affects the opportunities for every single other person. So that's another aspect to this in terms of community. It's really important that we maintain status quo, and we're professional, we're ethical, and we're endearing when we're going on stage, much like I'm doing right now. So that's just the other aspect of this.
No, and that's so true. And the same for us on USA Global TV and Radio. Whatever we do impacts everybody else on the channel. If we aren't prepared, if we aren't engaging, if the person doesn't enjoy the interview or doesn't think that we highlighted what they wanted us to highlight, then that impacts the whole channel. So having those principles and living up to them is really important for any community, isn't it?
It is. And the important thing is, and I don't know how you feel about this, Kim, but this is what I tell my clients. These media outlets are taking time out of their day to develop a show, build branding for you, and talk about you for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on the show. And they get to showcase you for that time at no other cost to yourselves other than time and, well, paying me my fee for setting it up. But you get a platform to talk about your branding for as long as you want within that time span. And the important thing is take advantage of it. Talk about what you want to talk about and make sure you have all those points in place. At the same time, respecting the person who gave you that opportunity in the first place. It all goes back to respect. It all goes back to ethics, and it all goes back to professionalism.
Yeah.
And sometimes creatives don't think that way.
No, I guess for me, I've always looked at this probably because of my background, which was leadership. I think any opportunity, like people's one-to-one, people's direct one-to-one, like it's your time to market yourself. It's your time to tell me all the things you've done that are amazing that I might not have seen. It's the time for you to tell me all the things where I could help you better, but use the tip.
Exactly.
Actually going to make you feel great. And I've taken the same approach to these shows and the shows on my own platform, which has been, this is your time. So let me help you try and get as much of your message out as I possibly can, and have an engaging conversation that's going to bring people into your orbit, that are the right people to bring into your orbit. Because that's the purpose, isn't it? Is, my job is to help you get your message out. That's my job.
Exactly.
And your job is to share your story and your message, whatever it is that you want to get out there, for people to be able to start to say, is that my community? Is that the place where I belong? Is that somewhere where I want to explore more? And I think just being able to kind of put yourself out there and Creative Edge Publicity, you're allowing people to know that you exist and to get a better feel for whether that's a good fit for them. Because we need to feel the fit, don't we? On both sides.
Absolutely. And if it's a bad fit for my authors, I would hope, and I know this happens, but I just like to say it to make me feel better. I would hope they would tell me that it was a bad experience. Because if it's a negative experience for one person, it could be a negative experience for 10 people. And maybe I don't want to use that affiliate to market my clients.
Yeah.
Same thing. On the other token, if it's a wonderful, incredible experience, why wouldn't I want to go back there? Of course I would.
It's so true, isn't it? Because I think it was the rule of 49, where if you have a bad experience, you tell 7 people who tell 7 people who tell 7 people. And if you have a good experience, if you're lucky, you tell 1 person.
Right, exactly. It should be even. It should be even, Kim.
It should, but we've created an environment socially where we look for the things that are going wrong. We love something that's gone bad. We love something that wasn't as great as it could have been. And yet, actually, and I try this really hard with my little girls, like, if we look for the good, we'll find more good. Like, so if we're grateful for the things that went well, if we share it, then we're going to have more things that went well. We're going to have more good conversations. We're going to have more great experiences. We're going to have more stories to share if we go in looking for those positives. But knowing that the reality is, if we get it wrong, it's going to go to more people. For me, keeps me on my toes to make sure that I do my best to not make it a bad experience, and to make sure that the guest feels listened to, heard, and respected. Because I think at our base, that's what everybody's looking for, isn't it?
You know what I think it is, Kim? I think that's why we always date the wrong people in high school, because we always want the bad person instead of what's actually good for us. And and we don't get to see the good until we're mature enough to realize it. It's the same thing with this.
It's so true. And I think there's also a camp of believing if you're extra good, you can find the good in everybody. You know, I
Yes.
fall through that camp.
Yes.
I think there is, in everybody there is light and dark. You just have to look a little bit harder sometimes to find either that is really dark and you don't need to go there, or the light's in there.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome.
But I think it's how we pull all of those bits together, isn't it? And how we continually learn from the experiences that we have. Because I believe everybody that we meet for a reason. And
Absolutely.
Some of them are to teach us something. Some of them are to help us grow in a different way, and some of them are here for the duration. But we sometimes try and make everybody fit one of those camps. They're not always there for that. I try to explain this to my little girl with the whole, some friends are leaves and they're there for a season, some are the branches and they're there for a reason, and some are the trunk and they're the roots and they're there for life, because not everybody's everything. And I think that's true when we're building community, isn't it? Certain people will fit the community for a while but won't be there forever, and others, they'll have found their roots. It will be the thing that inspires them forever. Would that be fair?
It is fair, and everything is a journey.
Okay.
Even the client-publicist relationship is a journey. In some cases, if they only want a certain platform, that journey is going to be 3 months. I personally like to have the journey longer, and the journey doesn't end until media tells us that the trip on this product, this whatever, it's sailed. So it's all a journey, always.
I love that. I believe that to be true of life. We get hung up on the destination and forget to enjoy the journey. And
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, it's like if we're truly present to the journey, we enjoy every day instead of mythically putting it off to when this happens. When I get there, then I will have arrived and it will all be good. It's actually, it's what we learn along the way, isn't it? It's who we meet along the way that enriches the journey and sometimes changes the destination.
In the media world, in my opinion, for creatives, the journey never ends. You simply do go on different destinations and you pivot along the way as to how you're traveling. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely see that from the creatives that I have the pleasure of interviewing on this show and on other shows. It's that constant, almost reiteration of every part of the journey teaches them something else, or sparks a different idea, or generates a different thought. That then, if they've got the right community around them, they can run with that. They can see how they can bring their experience and their creativity to bear to maybe make that more accessible to other people. So,
no, I was just going to say, and honestly, the creatives that choose to walk through their journey rather than travel by airplane actually are very much more selective and successful.
I love that. That is a great analogy, because we do live in a world, don't we, where we want it yesterday.
Yeah, it's not a marathon, it's definitely a sprint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we need to do this correctly. So, can I ask you, Mickey, who is it that you would like to get in touch with you? How can they get in touch with you? And who do you help?
I always want to work with creatives, and it doesn't matter if they're traditionally published or they're indie published or they're a musician or they're an actor or they're a business level or whatever. I want to work with people who are willing to start from the ground up and have a vision of what they want to do. If I'm meeting with someone for the first time and the first thing they say is, you're going to get me on the New York Times, I don't want to work with individuals like that. I want to work with individuals who are invested in relationships, who understand that it's going to take work, time, investment, and proactiveness. That's who I want to work with. They can contact me through my website. They can email me at mickey.creativeedge@gmail.com. That's what we're looking for. And we're looking for any author, really, as long as they have those parameters. And they're willing to invest in themselves, and they're willing into investing into a long-term relationship, because that's what we are all about. We are not interested in commodity relationships, and we don't do them.
Perfect. And as you say, across any genre, you help. You can work with anybody as long as they fit the principles of your community. So they
Yes.
understand that whatever they do, however they represent an element of all of the authors and creatives that are also within the community.
Yes, we've had over 11 authors hit number one on Amazon and become international bestsellers in the last year and a half, all across multiple genres: nonfiction, fantasy, horror, pretty much every genre you can think of. Our process is sound, and I'm a big believer in what we're doing, and I think we have success.
Amazing. And if I could ask you to share just one final piece of advice or thought for our audience to ponder on, what would it be?
For the creatives out there, never second guess what you're trying to do. There's a lot of experts, me included, and if what we're telling you doesn't sit well with what you're trying to do, then simply don't do that. Have confidence, have faith, have a belief in what you are trying to do, and run with that, no matter what people say to you. Eventually, you'll have success because it's your vision and it's what you want to do. Not what everybody else wants you to do, what you want to do.
Mickey, that's amazing advice. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on and sharing your insight and your experience and your invaluable advice for all the creatives out there that are watching. So thank you so much.
Oh, Kim, it was a pleasure meeting with you, and thank you for this opportunity. And I adore this network, and a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Bless you. I look forward to next time. And to everybody listening and watching, I hope you've also found it as interesting and inspiring as I have. And actually, it's pushing me to do something that I don't normally do. I've talked about the fact that I've written 2 books, but I very rarely share why I've written 2 books. And the first one was very personal for me. It was for my little girl, and it was about how you help children, she was 9 at the time, start to understand and deal with grief. It's a picture book, and I've had amazing feedback on it. And the second is more around kind of what I do for a living, which is leadership, which is making sure that in this world, as we continue to grow and evolve, actually judgment is becoming the most important skill we can gain, that we can garner, which is how do we take all the information that's coming at us and have the right judgment to make the right call. So if any of those books sound like something that you'd be interested in, I'd be delighted to hear your feedback on them. And until that's the end of the show. So thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us your listening for the last 40 minutes. And I look forward to next time.
How much of your value have you been giving away? Saying yes when the answer should have been no? Lowering your price to secure the opportunity? Giving more while receiving less? Over time, it adds up. Until one moment brings clarity, you've been giving away your value. This is not about working harder. This is not about doing more. It's about boundaries. It's about pricing. It's about respect. From Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck comes a direct and necessary message. Stop over-delivering. Stop underpricing your expertise. Stop negotiating against yourself. Because when you recognize your value, everything changes. Stop giving away your value. Boundaries, pricing, and the business of respect. Available now wherever fine books are sold and on Amazon. A film by USA Global TV and Radio. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Videographer and cinematic production Paul Garcia. Voiceover by Ed Wargas. Stop giving it away. Start owning it.
Every great story begins with a vision. At USA Global TV and Radio for years, we've been providing world-class education, entertainment, inspiration, imagination, connections, and hope. Most people don't stay to watch the outro or the credits, but it's the people behind every success, behind every breakthrough, and behind every unforgettable story who matter. The TV show hosts, our guests, our sponsors, our publicists, our production team, our distribution team, our search engine optimization team, and so many more. You're the ones who make the difference. Every great story belongs to the people who bring it to life. Our future looks bright at USA Global TV and Radio, and that's because of you, our loyal fan base all around the world in more than 60 countries. Together, we're making a difference because you matter. USA Global TV and Radio, live streaming to over 60 countries. Voiceover, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Video production and direction, Paul Garcia. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.